On the first day of ISF, we were introduced to vertical gardens. Vertical gardens are upright systems that are sometimes used on the walls of buildings in busy, populated areas with little space. They're also becoming increasingly popular within homes and in backyards, and occasionally even indoors. We started by looking at the history of living walls. We related to how it has inspired us to create what we have now. Such designs date back to ancient times and are known to have existed as early as 3000 BC in Egypt. An example of ancient vertical gardens is the vast hanging gardens of Babylon, which is one of the 7 wonders of the world. We next discovered how they are an important tool for us to use now and in the future. The population is growing and more land is being cleared for urbanization. Gardens of cities are good for clean air, which is becoming an issue in cities, aesthetics, and can cool buildings by up to 7 to 10 degrees. Vertical gardens are also being used a lot in homes. They can be used where there is a little backyard space or in big gardens to improve the way they look and make the most of their area. Additionally, they can save water, especially if an aquaponic or hydroponic system is used. Vertical gardens are also being used to grow food, especially in homes as it saves money, is organic, better for the environment, and is easily accessible. On the second day, we did some of our own research and started to design our own vertical gardens. We were introduced to the materials, plants, and tools that we were going to be working with. There were many different aspects to consider with our research. We had to decide how the plants were going to be placed in the wooden crates, how we were going to irrigate them. Most of our research was online, but we did go onto the footpath outside where some succulents are situated. We learned about how they're good for Australian climate as they absorb a lot of moisture into their leaves so that they are versatile and can survive longer without watering. This was one of our options to use in our own garden. One of the biggest design issues that we had to tackle was incorporating irrigation into our living wall design. We had to create a system that would allow enough water to reach all the plants corresponding to where they were situated. This would need to be used for when it was rained, but also so that plants could be manually watered. Plants that need the most water could be placed on the top and arranged in descending order of requirement. Different groups designed accordingly. Our group chose to place a large plastic cylinder on top of the crate. A hole was cut so the neck of the 2-litre bottle could be easily inserted. The bottom of this bottle was cut off so that the water could be easily poured in. Holes were drilled into the bottom side of the cylinder and drip lines with nozzles attached to the end were fed inside so the water could feed through from the bottle into the pipe. The nozzle attached allowed only a certain amount of water to pass through at once, hence the name drip irrigation. This reduces water wastage and allowed for a large amount of water to be evenly dispensed over a long period of time. One of the other groups chose to put their plants in plastic bottles and put holes in the bottom of these bottles so the water could drip down from each bottle to the next. Another group chose to put a drip line winding around so it could reach each plant and soil-filled can. On day 3, we started to build the design we had created. We first needed to add some extra pieces of wood to the front of our crate, as they were not evenly spaced and plants were going to be stuck in between them. Next we had to cut the mesh we needed to cover the front and back of the crate to size. We had to attach the mesh using a hammer and nails. This took up most of day 3. While the mesh was being attached, the irrigation system was created. The cylinder needed to be sawn down to a reasonable size, a hole needed to be cut on the top for the bottle and smaller holes were drilled to the bottom for the drip lines. The sides were taped over and the bottle cut in half and attached to the top of the cylinder. The piping was put into the bottom and the emitter attached. Day 4 was spent on finishing the vertical garden. Some of the mesh needed to be attached and we now had access to a table gun, making the job easier and quicker. The crate was filled in with soil and holes were cut on the front of the mesh. The plants were placed inside of the holes so they stuck out horizontally. We attached the cylinder to the top of the crate and fed the piping through the soil. The garden was given a test run to check that it ran smoothly. It worked quite well despite time constraints. Every group had very different designs and each worked quite well. Groups made very good and unique use of their resources available to them and used the time efficiently. Vertical gardens in ISF was definitely successful. I learned a lot from this activity about plant architecture, irrigation, design, teamwork, collaboration, and many other things.